All right. One last kind of kick at this factoring thing. We'll maybe do a bit of application too in the next section, but some general strategies when you're factoring. Um, it's nice to be able to have one little thing that you can focus on while you're factoring, but really you're going to be faced with a question that says factor this, and you're going to have to recognize what type of factoring you need to do in each different case. So that's what we're sort of looking at here, some general strategies. This might be a nice sheet for you to print off or write down somewhere because this helps you look at any type of factoring and sort of helps you pick which strategy to use. Always first what you want to look for is, like in this case here, is there something that I can factor out first? In this case, I can factor 5x out. I'd be left with x minus 2, I think. And there I'm done the factoring. But regardless of which type of factoring, look to see if you can factor out a common factor first. Other things that you could do, like in this particular one, if I notice that there's only two terms, I'm thinking maybe a difference of squares, or maybe a sum and difference of cubes. This one looks like a square one, but that's probably how I would proceed with this one. I'd first, of course, factor a 4 out, because it's a common factor, and I have x squared minus 9. Now I've got a difference of squares there. So this would be 4 times the difference of squares. X and an x. 9 is 3 and a 3. 1's plus, 1's minus. Factored. If I have 3 terms, then probably I'm going to be looking at either a FOIL method, like the guessing one, or an AC method. Maybe it's a perfect square. Looks like in this one it is. Two numbers that multiply to 49 and add to 14 are 7 and 7. So x plus 7, x plus 7, that one looks like a perfect square variety. But if there's 3 terms, could be a perfect square, but I might be having to guess or check, might have to use that AC method or that other systematic way of factoring it. If I have 4 terms, then most likely it's going to be a group factor of some sort. So in this case here, I'd look at the first 2 terms, factor something out. Take a look at the next 2 terms, factor something out, and see if when I've factored that stuff out, what I get in brackets is identical. If it is, then I can proceed with group factoring. Sometimes they give you a little bit of trickery where you look at a question and there's 4 terms, but when I look at them, I can't really, the group factoring thing probably won't work. With this one, and it is sort of a form of trickery, sometimes you need to rework them a little bit. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 25 and put it over with this one. And I'm going to leave that minus p squared off to the side. Then I look at this and I say, hey, that by itself, just sort of disregarding this piece over there, that looks like a perfect square there. 5 times 5, 5 plus 5. So I'm just going to take that and factor it. So this will be t plus 5 times t plus 5. And of course, I guess I should remember that I have that minus p squared there. But since this is a perfect square, I can rewrite it as t plus 5 all squared minus p squared. At this point, I'm feeling pretty cocky that I was able to get to that point. But then I look and I say, hey, well, this is a square, and this is a square, and it's a difference. So, hey, I could use difference of squares to solve that. So difference of squares, to factor this further, I could say, okay, put a t plus 5 here. Whoops. Where's my undo? Put a t plus 5 here and put a t plus 5 at the start of the other one. And then the p squared, I'll put a p there and a p there. One's plus, one's minus. So this would be the completed factorization of the original question there. Again, as you can probably sort of, when you look at that, you're probably thinking, yeah, that's a little bit of trickery. But it's a good idea to be able to try and rework a question and look for patterns in it that I can then factor. these strategies here would be a good idea for you to practice. And just take a look at a question and see which one, identify which form of factoring you're going to be trying with that question. All right, try some. Give us a holler if you have questions.